President Biden is facing mounting pressure to act on abortion access in the wake of the fall of Roe v. Wade. Democrats like Senator Elizabeth Warren and Patrick Murray are calling on Biden to take executive action. And while the president alone cannot reverse the slew of state bans going into effect after Friday's ruling, Democrats say the urgency of the moment requires taking all available action.
On Monday, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi outlined 3 specific proposals that House Democrats are considering in response to the Roe decision. One would codify the 1973 Roe decision into law. Another would make clear that women are free to travel across the country for any reason, an effort to preempt any attempts by states to prohibit cross-state travel in pursuit of legal abortion services. And a third would protect reproductive health data, such as that stored on apps, from being collected and distributed to third parties. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people discussing the apps already and how people should delete their period apps immediately, especially if they are in a state with a ban.
Why is that?
The idea being that if you do get pregnant, they know. And to the extent that you travel to another state or get an abortion through less than legal means, it's basically informing on yourself.
I guess, or you could just say, I have a medical condition like PCOS or endometriosis or something that throws my period. I mean, it's just, or I stressed out this month. And I mean, there's just so many things that could affect a woman's cycle that I don't know if it's, I mean, that might be a little bit, I mean, look, take every precaution, I suppose, but that might be a little bit like alarmist.
Well,
slightly.
Especially because, I mean, given the new abortion policies that will exist in some states, right? Some states are going to have strict limits. Some states have, a certain week cutoff. So it would be a shame to punish women. You want women to know if they're pregnant, if early enough to still be able to get abortions in states that permit it up to a certain week, right? So then like casting aspersions on the data collector, the apps that help you track that would be a bad thing. Although I certainly understand why people are saying that, but that could backfire, right?
Sure, because those apps are so helpful for so many of us women that need to track cycles for whatever reasons. I mean, it's a real, it's like saying to somebody, don't track your blood pressure anymore because, oh no, they might, I mean, who knows, right? But this is an important piece of medical data that you need to be tracking, that many women do track. And so it would be a shame if that happens. I mean, I don't know. Clearly what needs to happen though, look, Democrats they should have done more. Well beyond this point, this wasn't a surprise. The ruling wasn't a surprise, not only because it leaked, but it wasn't a surprise because Republicans have been saying for decades that this was their plan all along. Mm-hmm. So Democrats can't act like they were suddenly blindsided by this, like, oh no, they lied to us this whole time, and now suddenly they undid Roe v. Wade. Republicans have been wanting to do this. So where have Democrats been this entire time? And why aren't they? And now they say they're doing something, but what is that something? They're saying they're going to codify Roe v. Wade. That would be great. There's a lot of misconceptions about that. A lot of people I've been seeing on the internet, people saying things like, oh, if they do that, then women will be able to get late-term abortion. That's not true. Roe v. Wade doesn't allow that. Roe v. Wade allows you cannot ban or restrict in any circumstance first trimester abortions. Second trimester, a state can restrict, but they cannot ban. And third trimester abortions, a state has the legal right to ban under Roe v. Wade. Planned Parenthood versus Casey changed that a little bit. But if they codified Roe v. Wade, I think actually a lot of the country would be on board with that, actually, if they understood it. I think there's a lot of misconceptions around it. But, where have these guys been this whole time? And what are they doing? What is their concerted effort to do something now?
Well,
besides, delete your app.
Yeah, more on the delete your app talk. Abortion civil rights advocates are putting pressure, in fact, on tech companies to safeguard user data that could be used to prosecute people for miscarriages and pregnancy termination in states with strict abortion laws, which has already been done, including one case in which a woman's online search for abortion pills was brought against her in court. The abortion ruling could also derail in bipartisan data privacy talks on Capitol Hill.
In more tech news, AP reports that Facebook and Instagram are suddenly removing posts offering abortion pills to women living in states affected by overturning of Roe. Posts explaining how women could obtain abortion pills in the mail are disappearing from the platform. On Monday, an AP reporter tested how the company would respond to a similar post on Facebook, writing, "If you send me your address, I will mail you abortion pills." The post was removed within 1 minute.
I wonder if that actually has to do with, again, I hope the left wakes up to the problem, and many on the actual left, more in the progressive mainstream kind of circles I'm talking about, the problem of ridiculous content moderation on social media that we complain all the time, and actually the hard left actually does as well. I more mean the kind of mainstream liberal class of people. That said. Right. It could be, in this case, why they take that down. You sort of advertising like a product or a medical product on Facebook is going to get you in trouble like 9 times out of 10, right?
Well, the concern was that people who advertise selling things like guns were not similarly prohibited. So the frustration in that article was about the asymmetry there. That seemed to be, political in nature, to the extent that there's a claim that this is a value-neutral prohibition on, let's say, sending medication or something like that, or sending a dangerous substance or something like that. I mean, there's obviously a lot of regulations around.
I think their medication policies are specific and stronger than just about anything else, possibly for liability concern. I mean, you're right. It could just be the different regulatory framework for guns is why this is.
Yes, guns and marijuana were tested, and neither received.
Marijuana is interesting. Yeah, I just remember from the COVID discourse, right, talking about COVID cures and that kind of stuff. Like you had to be, that was going to be the most aggressively taken down
baby
material
formula.
Was. Yeah, no, right. We've seen examples of that being censored. Claims about here's how you make baby formula, that kind of thing. So they do have medication and sort of like consumable, like incidental poisoning kind of fear.
But there is maybe you can articulate a difference between someone saying this is a recipe for making baby formula that may or may not be injurious to a child, and here's like a package, like presumably sealed package of over-the-counter medication that I'm offering for sale, the way that I presume you can resale a lot of different kinds of medication in different contexts. So I'm sure people will be following that quite a bit as it becomes more and more germane.
That is interesting, though. I mean, how? Go ahead, Kim.
I'm just the irony of this is, so this is kind of, we could kind of equate this more to ivermectin and COVID, right? So
let's be careful.
Right. Well, but it's the same sort of idea where you've got on the left a bunch of people that were saying you shouldn't have access to this medication, remove anything online, and there were definitely some restrictions on what you could or could not advertise, and so it's in that similar. It'll be very similar where you're going to start seeing now people probably on the left actually adopting the playbook of the doctors and the people that supported the use of ivermectin during the pandemic, because what people needed to do if they wanted to have access to it was they'd have to find a provider. That was very difficult to do. If you went to your regular doctor, they'd probably say, "Get out of here, you crazy lunatic." And so you had to find somebody, and it had to be in a state where it was allowed, and then you had to somehow procure it, and it was difficult. So it's going to be interesting to see if that same sort of, the mechanisms that were put together for that sort of medication that was, demonized, if that is going to have this, if there's going to be a similar, looking towards that. So, it does kind of, again, call up the hypocrisy. I mean, if people were calling for, this should be totally banned and people should go to jail for it, and there were calls for that. Now we're seeing it on the flip side, but in regards to the abortion pill.
Yeah, well, notably, ivermectin rightfully was never banned. It was never illegal to take ivermectin. And unfortunately, the Supreme Court has decided that it's up to the states whether or not it wants to make women taking these contraceptive, these abortion pills.
I don't think there should be any restrictions on
illegal
morning after pill. I don't think there should be any restrictions. I think it should be available over the counter everywhere. That is the policy I support.
Hopefully the conservatives that I think we're rightly concerned about their access to different kinds of drugs will also be consistent here and support women's rights to access these kinds of reproductive drugs.
And it's another showcasing of will the hypocrisy, showcase itself in this situation.
I guess I would hope they just realize that criminalizing that would be such a overreach that it would invite blowback, right? I mean,
I think
now we're just talking about a narrow number
talking about two
of
different
social.
pills.
What's that?
We're talking about two different pills. There's two different pills.
Educate me. I have no idea.
Yeah, well, there's the morning after pill, which is not an abortion pill. That one is different, that you take, and I don't know the exact science of it, but I believe it prevents the implantation of
but some conservatives argue that is an abortifacient, and they're trying to get that stuff banned.
Yes, they are. But
that.
then the other pill that we're talking about is actually used for abortion services in first trimester. I believe women that are up to 8 or 9 weeks pregnant can take a series of pills, and it will basically cause a miscarriage. Like most women have many, many miscarriages during that time frame naturally. So I believe that's the pill that they're actually that is in question.
And then you don't need to have a procedure. You just take those pills up to we're up to 11 weeks. They're telling us.
11 weeks. Okay.
Production team. Okay. Didn't know that. All right. Well, thank you for this discussion. Educational for me. Tomorrow on Rising, we'll continue to discuss the major rulings coming out of the Supreme Court, as well as the fall of Roe v. Wade.
And Max Alvarez and Denise Long will join us for our Rising panel.
Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And be sure to download us on podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.